Have you ever felt like a ghost at your own party? Celebrated but not seen? Before this brilliant young woman turns the tables on the family who betrayed her, make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. The battle for this inheritance is about to become a war. The crystal chandeliers of the conference hall glittered, casting a cold light on the faces of my family. It was my graduation party, a lavish affair my mother had insisted upon, a grand performance of a happy, successful family. My father, a titan in the pharmaceutical industry, was holding court. My mother, a society queen, floated through the room on a cloud of Chanel No. 5. Everything was perfect, which should have been my first warning. In my family, perfection was a weapon, and it was usually aimed at me. I drifted toward the windows overlooking the Boston skyline, a ghost in my own celebration. My phone buzzed. A text from my best friend, Jade. "How's the circus?" I smiled. She knew. She had seen the polished cruelty that lay beneath my family's perfect facade. That's when I saw it. My father, leaning in to whisper to my mother, her calculated nod, their shared glance towards my younger sister, Olivia, who stood by the door, oblivious, scrolling through her phone. I couldn't hear the words, but I knew that look. It was the look of conspiracy. The same look my father wore before he gutted his company and laid off 200 employees the week before Christmas. My stomach tightened. My mother glided over to Olivia, a brief, whispered exchange. A small card passed between them. And then, Olivia was gone, slipping out of the party without a word. A silent, obedient soldier dispatched on a secret mission. Something was wrong. My father had mentioned my trust fund, a substantial inheritance from my grandmother, set to transfer to my control on my 25th birthday, just 3 weeks ago. I pulled out my phone, my fingers fumbling for my banking app. The page loaded with agonizing slowness. And then I saw it. The balance was wrong. Catastrophically wrong. Instead of a 6-figure sum, there was barely $5,000. I checked the transaction history. A massive transfer, dated the day after my birthday. The entire trust fund moved to an account I didn't recognize. The room, once filled with celebratory noise, was suddenly silent. The air punched from my lungs. This wasn't an error. This was a heist. And it had been executed at my own graduation party while they were toasting my success. I met Jade in the lobby, my carefully constructed composure shattering. "My trust fund is gone," I whispered. "They took it." Jade, a financial analyst with a mind like a steel trap, was already pulling out her phone. "The money from your trust fund," she said a few calls later, her voice grim, "was transferred to a new account. An account in Olivia's name." The betrayal was so absolute, so breathtakingly cruel, it almost didn't feel real. They hadn't just stolen from me, they had given my future to my sister. "I need to talk to her," I said. A cold, dangerous calm settled over me. I met Olivia at a cafe the next morning. She was a pawn in their game, fed a story about tax implications and protecting family assets. She had the forged documents they had made her sign, my signature a clumsy, almost insulting imitation. They had lied to her. They had used her. They had played us against each other. "What are you going to do?" she asked, her eyes wide with a dawning horror. An idea began to form in my mind, a plan so audacious, so theatrical, it was worthy of my parents themselves. "I'm taking shots at my brand of intelligence, dictory, and gaining control of my own life. They're expecting me for brunch at noon, and they think I'm walking in blind." This is the turning point, where the victim becomes a strategist. The game is no longer about hurt feelings, it's about a hostile takeover of her own life. If you are on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and let me know in the comments, what do you think her next move should be? I walked into my parents' house an hour later, The perfect, unsuspecting daughter. They were all there, radiating smug satisfaction. We made small talk over smoked salmon and mimosas. "I've been thinking about my financial situation," I said, my voice light. "Harold mentioned some adjustments to my trust fund." "Nothing major, darling. Just some restructuring. The money is still safe." "That's funny," I said, setting down my fork, "because I checked my account last night. It's empty. And I know you transferred my entire inheritance to Olivia after forging my signature on the authorization documents." The silence that fell over the brunch table was absolute. My father's face darkened. My mother's smile became a brittle, fixed thing. "That's a very serious accusation, Ava," my father said, his voice cold. "I have the documents," I said. "Olivia showed them to me." My sister, on cue, stood and laid the forged papers on the table. "They lied to me too," she said, her voice shaking. "You have no proof of anything illegal," my father blustered, but the panic was in his eyes. "Actually," I said, pulling out my phone, "I've already sent a copy of everything to a friend of Jade's. She specializes in elder financial fraud. She's very interested in the forged signatures." Their carefully constructed world imploded. "If you walk out that door, you are no longer part of this family," my father roared, his voice a thunderclap of impotent rage. "I've always been on my own, Dad. I just didn't realize it until now." The legal battle was brief and brutal. The forensic analysis of the signatures was conclusive. Their financial advisor, facing his own criminal charges, testified against them. A business journalist I knew published a devastating exposé on my father's unethical business practices. The board of his company called an emergency meeting. Shareholders demanded answers. He was forced to resign in disgrace. My mother's social circle evaporated overnight. The court ordered the full restoration of my trust fund with penalties and interest. I watched from the back of the courtroom as the empire they had built on a foundation of lies and cruelty crumbled into dust. My revenge wasn't loud. It was a perfectly documented, legally executed, and publicly broadcasted truth. The quiet one, the one they had written off, had the final word. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. In this case, it was served with subpoenas and a stock market crash. What do you think is the ultimate form of justice? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you believe in the power of quiet strength, subscribe for me more stories where the underestimated always win.